So let's continue from the previous video. Next is the altruistic behavior in detail. Altruistic behavior refers to actions taken by an individual that benefits others at a cost to the individual. In other words, it involves behaviors that are performed for the benefit of others, often at the expense of the actor. Although this may seem to be a counterintuitive concepts. Altruistic behavior is quite common in many species, including humans. In ethology, altruism is seen as an adaptive behavior that has evolved as a result of natural selection. Advantages of altruistic behavior: increased group cohesion. Altruistic behavior can help to create stronger bonds within social groups, promoting cooperation and mutual aid, increased survival and reproductive success. Altruistic behavior can increase the likelihood of the survival and reproductive success of the group as a whole, which can ultimately lead to the success of the individual. Improved reputation. Altruistic behavior can also help to improve an individual's reputation within the group, which can increase their social status and potential mates. Then, disadvantages of altruistic behavior: decreased individual survival and reproductive success. Altruistic behavior may come at a cost to the individual, reducing their own chances of survival and reproductive success. Potential exploitation by others. Altruistic behavior can also be exploited by other members of the group who may not reciprocate the behavior. Potential competition with non altruistic individuals. Altruistic individuals may also face competition from non altruistic individuals who do not engage in the same behaviors. Examples of altruistic behavior: cooperative breeding in birds. In many bird species, some individuals may undergo their own reproduction, may forego their own reproduction and help to raise the offsprings of others in the group. This behavior can increase the survival and reproductive success of the group as a whole. Alarm calling in meerkats. Meerkats will often give alarm calls to alert the groups to the presence of predators, even if it puts the caller at risk. This behavior benefits the group as a whole, increasing their chances of survival. Honeybee workers. Honeybee workers are sterile and cannot reproduce, yet they engage in behaviors that benefit the colony as a whole, such as caring for the young and defending the hive. Altruistic behavior has been extensively studied in ethology, and research has revealed a number of factors that influence this behavior. These factors include kin selection, reciprocal altruism, and group selection. Kin selection, reciprocal altruism, and group selection. Kin selection suggests that individuals are more likely to engage in altruistic behavior towards those who share their genes, as this ultimately benefits their own genetic fitness. Reciprocal altruism, on the other hand, suggests that individuals may engage in altruistic behavior towards those who are likely to reciprocate the behavior in the future. Finally, group selection suggests that altruistic behavior can be selected for if it benefits the group as a whole, even if it comes at a cost to the individual. Kin selection in detail. Kin selection is a form of natural selection that favors the spread of alleles that increase the inclusive fitness of an individual's relatives, even if it means a cost to the individual's own reproductive success. It is a phenomenon observed in many species, particularly in those that exhibit social behaviors. In this essay, we will be discussing about this topic. So, advantages of kin selection: increased survival and reproductive success. Kin selection can result in an increase in the survival and reproductive success of individuals within a social group by assisting their kin in obtaining resources or avoiding predation. Individuals can ensure the survival and reproduction of their relatives who carry similar genetic material. Evolution of social behaviors. Kin selection can lead to the evolution of social behaviors such as altruism, cooperation, and reciprocal helping. These behaviors can increase the fitness of individuals within a group and improve their chances of survival and reproduction. Then, reduced competition. Kin selection can reduce competition among relatives for resources or mates. By cooperating with their kin, individuals can avoid competing with them, which can increase their inclusive fitness. Disadvantages of kin selection: costly behaviors. Kin selection can sometimes result in costly behaviors that reduce the individual's fitness. For example, an individual may forego reproduction to help a relative reproduce, which can decrease its own fitness. Reduced genetic diversity. Kin selection can result in reduced genetic diversity within a population, which can make it more susceptible to diseases and environmental changes. Conflict within groups. Kin selection can lead to conflicts within social groups, particularly when resources are scarce or there are competing interests. This can lead to aggression, infighting, and even group dissolution. Examples of kin selection: cooperative breeding in birds. In some bird species, young birds remain in their parents and help bring some bird species, young birds remain with their parents and help raise younger siblings, even though they could be using their time to breed themselves. This behavior is believed to be driven by kin selection as the young birds share genetic material with their siblings. Then, honeybee workers. Female honeybees forego reproduction and instead help the queen reproduce. This behavior is driven by kin selection as the workers are more closely related to the queen than to the potential mates. Lionees often form strong social bonds and work together to hunt and raise their young. This behavior is believed to be lionesses together to hunt and raise their young. This behavior is believed to be driven by the kin selection as the lionesses are often related to each other. Vampire bats. Vampire bats have been observed sharing blood with other bats in their colony that have not fed recently. This behavior is believed to be driven by kin selection as the bats are more likely to share blood with close relatives. In conclusion, kin selection is an important evolutionary process that has led to the development of many social behaviors observed in various species. While it can result in advantages such as increased survival and the evolution of social behaviors, it can also have disadvantages such as costly behaviors and conflict within social groups. The examples of kin selection in various species demonstrate the importance of this process in shaping social behavior and evolution. Next, inclusive fitness in detail. Advantages, disadvantages, and multiple examples. Inclusive Inclusive fitness is a theoretical concept that attempts to explain the evolution of social behaviors, particularly altruistic behavior. It is based on the idea that an individual's fitness is not just determined by its own reproductive success, but also by the reproductive success of its kin. Inclusive fitness is often used to explain the evolution of behaviors that appear to be altruistic, where an individual appears to be sacrificing its own reproductive success for the benefit of others. Advantages of inclusive fitness. Inclusive fitness theory provides a clear explanation for why certain forms of group behavior have evolved. For example, it can explain why animals engage in herbivore behaviors such as grooming, cooperation, and parental care, even as behaviors may not seem benefit to the individual directly. Inclusive fitness theory can help to predict how social behavior will evolve in different contexts. This can be useful in understanding how social behavior may change over time and how it may be influenced by environmental factors. Inclusive fitness theory also provide a framework for understanding the genetic basis of social behavior. It can help to explain why certain genes may be more likely to be passed on to future generations and how these genes may influence the development of social behavior. Disadvantages. Inclusive fitness theory can be difficult to test experimentally. It often relies on indirect measures of relatedness and reproductive success, which can be difficult to obtain. Inclusive fitness theory does not account for all forms of social behavior. There may be other factors such as reciprocity or group selection. Reciprocity or group selection that also influence the evolution of social behavior. Inclusive fitness theory assumes that individuals are able to recognize their kin and adjust their behavior accordingly. This may not always be the case, particularly in complex social systems where kinship relationships are not always clear. Now let's learn in important examples about the inclusive fitness. The behavior of worker bees in a hive. The behavior of worker bees in a hive is often cited as an example of inclusive fitness. Workers are sterile females that help to care for the queen and her offspring. Although workers do not reproduce themselves, they are closely related to the queen and her offspring, and so their behavior can be seen as an increasing their inclusive fitness. Many species of birds engage in cooperative breeding where individuals other than the parents help to care for the young. This behavior can be seen in increasing the inclusive fitness of the helpers as they are closely related to the young and helping to ensure their survival. In some primate species, individuals will engage in grooming behaviors with their kin. This behavior can be seen as an increase in their inclusive fitness as it helps to strengthen the social bond between individuals and increase the chances of their own genes being passed on to the future generation. Next, selfish theory in detail, advantages, disadvantages, multiple examples. The selfish gene theory is a concept in evolutionary biology proposed by Richard Hawkins in its book The Selfish Gene. The theory states that genes, rather than individuals, are the primary units of selection in evolution. According to this theory, genes are selfish in that they act in their own interests, which may or may not be coincided with the interests of the individual organism. Advantages of the selfish gene theory. It provides a clear explanation for why some traits are more prevalent in populations than others. It helps to explain why altruistic behaviors can evolve, even though they seem to contradict the principles of natural selection. It emphasizes the importance of genetic variation in evolution, which can lead to the development of new traits and adaptations. Disadvantages of the selfish gene theory. The theory is sometimes criticized of being reductionist as it focuses only on the gene as a unit of selection, ignoring its factors that may influence evolution. It may oversimplify the relationship between genes and behavior, as not all behaviors can be easily explained by terms of genetic self interest. It may be seen that promoting a view of evolution that is overly deterministic, as it suggests that genetic factors alone determine the course of evolution. Examples of selfish gene behavior include the behavior of certain parasites, which are able to manipulate their host's behavior to increase their own chances of survival and reproduction. Another example is the phenomenon of reproductive success, where an individual may sacrifice its own reproductive potential to help a relative reproduce. As the shared genes increase, the probability of the genes being passed on to the next generation. In conclusion, the selfish gene theory provides a useful framework for understanding the role of genes in evolution and the development of complex behaviors. While it has its limitations and criticism, it remains valuable a tool for understanding the complexities of natural world. Cultural transmission and behavior in detail. Cultural transmission of behavior refers to the process by which behavior patterns are acquired from members of one's own culture through social learning rather than being directly inherited through genes. Cultural transmission allows animals to learn from their environment and adapt their behavior to changing conditions without having to rely solely on genetic mutations. Here are some advantages, disadvantages, and examples of cultural transmission of behavior. Advantages: faster adaptation to changing environments. Cultural transmission allows for rapid adaptation to changing environmental conditions, as new behaviors can be learned and passed on to offspring in a relatively short amount of time. Reduction in trial and error learning. First, faster adaptation to changing environment. Cultural transmission allows rapid adaptation to what is cultural transmission? Cultural transmission of behavior refers to the process by which behavioral patterns are acquired from members of one's own culture through social learning rather than being directly inherited through genes. So, cultural transmission allows animals to learn from their environment and adapt their behavior to changing conditions without having to rely solely on genetic mutations. Here are some advantages, disadvantages, and examples of cultural transmission to behavior. Advantages: faster adaptation to changing environments. Cultural transmission allows for rapid adaptation to changing environmental conditions, as new behaviors can be learned and passed on to offsprings in a relatively short amount of time. Reduction in trial and error learning. Animals do not have to rely solely on trial and error learning, which can be time consuming and dangerous, as they can learn from the experience of others. Increased social cohesion. Social cohesion can be increased by cultural transmission fosters social cohesion, as it encourages animals to learn from and rely on one another. Risk of perpetuating maladaptive behaviors. Cultural transmission can lead to the perpetuation of maladaptive behaviors if the behavior being transmitted is not beneficial to the individual or group. Dependence on cultural transmission. Animals that rely too heavily on cultural transmission may become less genetically diverse and more vulnerable to environmental changes. Risk of cultural loss. As animals disperse and populations become isolated, cultural transmission can break down, leading to the loss of important cultural behaviors. Tool use in primates. Many primates, such as chimpanzees and orangutans, have learned to use tools for a variety of purposes, such as cracking nuts or digging for insects. Bird song. Birds learn their songs from the songs of adults, and this songs are then passed on to subsequent generations. Feeding behavior in whales. Different populations of killer whales have developed distinct feeding strategies such as teaching themselves to catch seals, which has passed down from generation to generation. So, which are the major examples? First, tool use in primates, bird song, feeding behavior in whales, etc. In conclusion, cultural transmission of behavior allows animals to learn from their environment and adapt their behavior to changing conditions without having to rely solely on genetic mutations. While there are advantages and disadvantages to this process, it is an important mechanism for rapid adaptation and social cohesion in many species.